I apologize. Normally my energy is on a scale of 1 to 10. It's usually around 11. But because of the jet lag, I'm more around a 1 or a 2. But that's okay. It'll be a little more dramatic because we're going to be talking about a horror game. Okay, good. Now, I will warn you, there's some really scary, grisly stuff in here. So it's not for everybody. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That was the dramatic opening. So good? Okay. All right. So before we get into talking about the multiplayer aspect, which is really the unprecedented feature of this game when it comes to music, I'll explain to you the way music works, period. All the different types of music and how it's used. And then we'll get into how it customizes itself for each player in real time. Okay? All right. So the different types of music are listed here. The proximity-based tension layers, that's a big part of the game. Anyone ever play Outlast? Okay. How about Outlast Trials? Okay. Oh man, it's scary. Whew. So you're sneaking around. I mean, you can't fight back, and you're hiding, and so the music informs you if someone's right around the corner, and so the proximity-based tension is a big part of it. The chasing is also a big part of it. You're being chased. The ambiances, when it wants to just set the mood. Certain one-shots, things that happen one time. There are some, what we call narrative-based music. So there's a trial or a task that you need to do, and the music informs you of doing that task. Of course, there's the diegetic music, which is music that comes from the environment. And then there are some scripted events. Okay. So this is a little series of charts just to give you an overview. And then we'll get into some more details on this. So here's that proximity system I told you about. The way it works is that it ranges from low to high, and on the low, it starts with a heartbeat. Low pitch, boom, right? And then that heartbeat will speed up, and the pitch speeds up. But in addition to it, some other layers will start to come in, some aleatoric layers to make it more and more and more and more tense. And it's all based on parameters in the game in real time, moment to moment. So the enemy distance, the threat level, their awareness, things like that. This is what it sounds like. And those yellow lines are the volume. So if you hear this, you know someone's starting to look for you. Now you're going to hear another layer. That's this only. Okay, you layer that with the other part. And now another layer comes in. And then another layer, like this. And then the topmost. Right? And so from that point, it either goes away or it would be interrupted by a chase. In other words, you're detected and now they're running after you. Okay, but that, when I play the game, I use this to basically inform me if someone's close or not. So you might not even see the enemy, and you hear that. So like if I go this way and I hear it goes down, I'm like, okay, that's the direction to go. If I go this way and I hear it increase, so I like to use the music as a hint. So now I'm going to show you that same thing in action. So this is Wise, and you're going to see this little chart here, right here. Okay, so this is the threat level. The green, there's a threat level, low to high. All right? And then you're going to see what's going on here. So right now the person is hiding in a locker. Okay? You see how it reacts? The game is making this happen. There's the enemy right there. So this threat level's going to come up. All right, now he's walking away, so it's going to come down. Okay. Oh, it's turning around again. And there are going to be different groupings of this proximity music. So that's not just the same set all the time. There's multiple variations to give more variety. But it does the same thing. And there you go. All right, cool. Let's move on. Now, the chase-based music also has a layered system. This will come in handy for the multiplayer aspect. When I do the music for this game, I'm going to break the components of the music up into different layers. Okay, so for example, this is a set of files that makes up one chase cue. But it's divided up into, let's say, a pulsing element, and some blasts and some hits and some sustains. Okay, and now the game has the ability to control those individually. They're all based on, again, distance. It's based on the player's speed. So there's some layers in here that give the impression of speed. In other words, if you're running, but let's say you're not running, it wouldn't make sense to have this like taka 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 taka, right? So that's why we kind of separate it out. All right. So all of these things give the engine the ability to be really, really dynamic. Okay. Another type of music, again, it relates to multiplayer, which you'll see soon, is the narrative music. So with narrative music, generally speaking, there's two states. There's the base layer of the activity or the trial that you have to complete. And then there's the activity layer when you're actually doing it. But a lot of times you start and you stop because you're being chased and you have to hide. Okay, so I'm going to show you one of those things right now. This is a narrative thing where you have to actually push the guy in the chair to his death. You have to bring him into a room and then electrocute him. So, you know, it's horrible. Oh, God. Okay. So we're pushing.
I thought it was a job. I thought it was a job.
So you're hearing the two layers. You're hearing the dun da da ba 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 da.
I just wanted a
That
job.
plays when you're holding the handles. Then you let go of it, and you just hear the sustains. And then da da. So it picks up. Now that means you're detected. So now the chase is coming. Hear it?
Gullible ass.
So it's going to transition back out of the chase into the narrative-based. And it's all done gradually.
Joey, you're not gonna do this.
Oh, man. Okay. So now you know enough to get into the multiplayer aspect of this. So this is the part of Outlast Trials. This is unprecedented. Generally speaking, multiplayer games don't put much emphasis on music for obvious reasons. But in the Outlast Trials, it's really important, and it's cooperative. You can play by yourself or up to 4 people at the same time. And you're all sneaking around and playing in this environment, in this trial, trying to get through it. But of course, different things are going to be happening to different people at the same time. Somebody will be chased, someone's sneaking around, someone's doing a narrative thing, and the music needs to be coordinated because sometimes you're going to be next to somebody and you might be observing something. So each player has their own musical experience based on certain parameters. So if one player's getting chased and another one is within 2 rooms or 15 meters, they will hear non-active chase music. They're still observing it. It's still a chase, but they're not the one being chased. Why did we do it that way? Well, because during testing, when a friend was being chased and you were just in the same room watching, the person's freaking out and running and all this, and you just stand there and you hear this chill ambient music, it didn't work. That's not realistic. That wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? So it has to inform you that, okay, there's a chase happening. This is serious, but it's not you being chased. So there's going to be a sense of urgency, but not complete panic. Okay. So I'm going to give you we're going to watch a few videos here. What you're about to see is 2 people playing at the same time, synchronized. And the speaker icon here is going to tell you which screen audio you are hearing. Now, it is panned left and right. I don't know if we're in stereo in this room, but if so, it's good because you're going to hear this screen on the left and this screen on the right. And sometimes it's going to play together. And the cool thing is you're going to notice it's completely synced up. If it's playing the same music in both, they're perfect sync. All right, let's check it out. So now they're in perfect sync up because you're watching him push it and he's pushing it. Now you're just hearing this. It's not in stereo, but that's okay. God, Got to get the key out there. All right. And this is the state that the game is using. So non-active chase. I mean non-active, active push. Now we go active chase, non-active chase. That's what non-active chase sounds. This is the active chase, non-active. Now you're just hearing only music, which is why it sounds weird. See? He's being chased there. Active chase, you're watching it. Now you're being chased. Okay? So this is... non-active, active. Now this is transitioning into the narrative push while this player's being chased. Okay, so there's a lot of things, and that could be up to 4 players. So you might be asking, okay, so how does it do that? Well, let me tell you how it does it. So this is the code view of the music system. So the synchronization happens on the server side. You need to play this with an internet connection. It will not work without that. So the server acts as the conductor. The server takes care of the timing, when things start, what is playing overall. And then each of the individual consoles or players, though, are having their music mixed in real time. The files are on the console or the PC, but the timing triggers happen from the server. That's how it keeps it in sync. Okay, so we're going to watch a little bit of a video a little later on this, but I want you to understand what you're looking at. So these are the music events that are actually playing overall in anybody's, like the total of everything that's playing. So you can see there's a proximity, there's an ambience, and there's a chase. So all 3 of those are playing somewhere, or some mixture of them. All right, so this is the total of everything that's playing. And these are the music events like as a running list when they got triggered, server side. This side here is per player. So you got this guy here, you got Manu here, and you got Mac over here. And these numbers are basically saying how long ago that event got triggered. So here it's like 0.9 seconds. This one is 97 seconds. This one is 117. And you'll see that this list is going to be different than this list because they're different players. But this is the server side. Okay. So let's check it out in real time. I'll pause it during the video. This is the server. This is saying what's currently playing. This is the timing of the music events. And this is player 1 and player 2. Okay, here we go. Now this is music only. They removed the sound effects. Now you're only seeing one player. Hold on. Strange. I have to hit the pause button. Okay. So here's a scripted stinger. All right. And okay, let me keep going. Right? Okay, so let's just take a look and see what's happening. So we have a proximity set. We have the ambient courthouse music. We have some one-shots, which are triggered independently of the ambiences. This gives it more of a variety and randomness. And we have the chase system playing. You're not hearing the chase system, but it is playing. This way, it can always be in sync. So if it needs to come on, and there's always a there's always a timing synchronization across the board. And then this is showing you the individual player right up there. Okay, let's keep going. Right? So you can kind of see this is the chase right here, what you're hearing, and then this is the chase proximity or the non-active chase. This is the observer. And you see how they triggered exactly at the same time, 6.5 seconds ago? Right? Okay. Threat levels going down. Now here's another thing you can see, which is kind of cool. It always keeps a running tally of what the threat level is. That's this line right here for each player. Okay? That's the threat level based on an NPC. Okay? Let's keep going. So this NPC is alerted that Mac is there. This player is being, there's nothing going on right here. That's a low-pass filter that goes on the music when a screamer, which is like a weird character, just screams really loud. You didn't hear that, you just saw the low-pass filter. Now, let's watch that change. We are going to be switching from a non-active chase into an active chase. Okay, so right over here, watch it change. Right there. That's a stinger. Okay, now the player's incapacitated, waiting for someone to rescue them. So that's the sound that happens when another player is attacked. No. So you can kind of see it's very interactive, and there's lots of little pieces that are happening, so it could really make it feel like it's being scored per player. Okay, great. So I wanted to give a little extra time for some Q&A on this one. Does anyone have any questions about what they've seen? Yeah. Okay, good. I think they have the microphone there.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Thank you for a great presentation. So
good,
I
good.
have a question. How did you test all of that? Because I can
Yeah.
understand from testing perspective multiplayer visually.
Yes.
Because you can have a workstation, a laptop not close by, and you can visually see what's going on. But here you need to switch all the time back and forth, headphones and everything. Did you have some special setup? And how did you train your QA to look for those things?
Oh, right. Well, very good questions. So as far as the testing, it was, they would do a lot of recordings like this. Now, the testers wouldn't always know what they're testing, or they wouldn't know exactly how it's supposed to work. But if they're recording it, they can be observed. So the audio director would have a chance to kind of see how it's interacting, how it's working, and if the systems are doing the correct thing. Red Barrels also did lots of Q&A, QA testing with feedback, just to get how does it feel. In other words, remember how I mentioned that initially they didn't have the viewer or the observation of the chase working the same way they did now. And that just came from testing it out and saying, that just doesn't work. You know, there's something missing. It doesn't feel right, or it doesn't sound right. So it was a lot of trial and error. And the game actually got delayed a year because they weren't happy with the way it was working overall. Not the music, but just the whole complexity of how it works. And we did make changes along the way, and it was all based on player feedback and just observing. They definitely took their time to make sure it worked right. And it's still not perfect. We're still, they're still making a few adjustments here and there. But yeah, it took a while. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
I have a question because obviously the music kind of takes center stage at some points in the game. And I wanted to ask, did you ever have to pull back on the intensity of a track or a layer because either it took too much space within the game, or maybe it overtook the other layers? Something like that?
Yes, absolutely. There was a lot of experimentation. Now, in all fairness, the music seemed like it took more center stage here than it does in the game, because a lot of what you watched was just the music. Because when you hear the first video you saw with the two screens, that actually, I think that has sound effects in it. But so for example, there were some cues where some sections where they felt it got a little bit overbearing. They felt it maybe it needed more dynamics. It was just always, at 11, and they needed it to feel a little bit more dynamic. So those adjustments were made, and that's a big reason why we broke the music up into layers, into stems, because it allowed them to have flexibility to control individual elements of the music rather than just play a stereo piece of music. And this way it's always different, and it can always react, and it never stays static. Right? So there's a lot of, and it's done with the music layering, and it's also done with post-production, with effects, with real-time filtering, convolution, all these different things. So it really, really is very adjustable.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question concerning the lag compensation in the game, because I can imagine that there could be a lag from one of the clients playing, and how the music system handles the synchronization or lag compensation.
Right. I can only speak to the point that I understand how it works with regard to that. But my understanding is when it sets up the players, it needs to synchronize at that point. So it will take into consideration the connection speed and what have you, so that when it calibrates itself, it knows that it's in sync. Kind of like I think you can imagine sometimes when you're watching streaming, and it adjusts the picture quality, So it's always making sure that you're watching it at the right time, but it might make some adjustments. I think in this case, once that game starts, it's synced. It's synced up. This is not that you can't actually stop this game and continue later. It doesn't work. Because it's a real-time experience. So that's the only bad part about it. If you want to do a trial, once that game starts, that clock is ticking. It is real-time. So if you put the controller down and you hide in a locker, you can't pause it. So you can hide in a locker and hope, go to the bathroom and hope, you don't get found. But most of the time you will. So yeah, it synchronizes when they connect to each other, and that's it. They stay in sync, as you can see here. Oh, well, before.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? No? Oh, okay, good.
First of all, thank you for a great presentation. I actually got
Sure.
a follow-up question to that, because you've got a conductor on the server, right?
Yes.
And why exactly was it so important for you to have all the players synchronized, and, as you just explained, maybe sacrifice a little bit of that lag and try to connect all the players on the same page, and maybe start that music a little bit later than it would for the player with the best connection, instead of having that slight few frames or half a second or a second desync between the players.
Okay, so you're saying why did they go to such extent to make sure it's perfectly synced?
Yeah, for the players, instead of having starting the active chase for one and then observer chase a half a second later for those, because it seems like it wouldn't be such a big deal if they weren't perfectly synchronized.
That's a good question. I'm going to take an educated guess, is that they really felt it was more impactful for it to be very responsive. So, for example, I saw plenty of videos that they would send me, and we'd be testing them out. And let's say you throw a bottle at the guy chasing you just to try to slow them down, or they detect you. It's much more effective that at that moment that the bottle hits the person, that it clicks into a different mode. I think that's the thing with this. It's when you are like detected, like, oh, I see you. It's like, boom, So I think having a second delay or 2-second delay, that was not probably going to work. And it made sense, especially that you can switch back and forth and between active and non-active, and it just made it feel more cohesive and natural. Because think about it, if you hear that and then it goes into a you know what I mean? It feels more real. It feels more cohesive. It feels more like a musical score rather than a science experiment, So I think they really wanted to make sure it was smooth and reactive, and it enhances the player's experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure, of course. Another question.
Hi, very nice presentation, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you talk something about optimization of these things when there is a lot of music layers that must be loaded always because you want them to play exactly at the same time of at the game events, and maybe some of the real-time effects were also CPU heavy. Can you talk more about optimization?
Yeah, so I think really one of the main reasons that they decided to do it this way is it took the load off the server just so it would be focused on timing and conducting. And this way it relies on the individual systems to do all the mixing, all the processing. So the server is telling it what to do, but this is a current generation game, okay? So it does not run on some of the older systems. So as far as the processing goes and the convolution and the filtering, it's no problem. It's relative to the video, the music is nothing.
Yeah, I see.
You know what I mean? And those files are on the local server. The files are on the actual local player. Here, this slide here. Oh, sorry. I don't know. Can you switch to it? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, really, you have, if there's 4 players, you have 4 times the power for processing because it's all being done on the local server. So I think that's why it makes much more sense to do it this way, and it's much more efficient. So the server doesn't really have to do anything other than triggering, giving instructions, and then all the other stuff happens there. But yeah, there's always optimization. There's always, as it's being developed, you would notice that, let's say, the frame rate wasn't keeping up, or these files were getting choppy, or whatever. So that just seems to be part of the development process. They always, strip out.
And maybe I'm mistaken, but did you say something about dynamic change of the music quality, of the audio quality, so it just keeps on playing even when there is some lag involved?
I did make that reference when I was referring to real-time video, but no, it doesn't lower the audio quality, because unlike Netflix or something where the video is streaming, the audio is not streaming, nor is the video. So you don't have to lower the quality because it's coming from the local server, and it just is the timing aspect from the server, which is very, low CPU. It's not really that hard to do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, Sure, sure. Another question? Okay.
Okay, if there is no question, so thank you very much, Tom. For me, it was very scary.
Yes.
Sounds but maybe because I saw only one movie horror and I said never again.
Okay. Yes, this was not for you.
Yeah, but thank you very much. Please use our Gradely app for and.
Thank you.